He hit the Deathworld girl in class. 3 seconds later, he needed facial reconstruction. Beginning, the girl from Clithos 9. The classroom smelled faintly of ozone and disinfectant. Holographic equations floated over the desks, flickering in pale blue light, while the student of Union Academy for Galactic Integration leaned back lazily in their chairs. This was supposed to be the future, an academy where human, synths, and alien species learned together in peace. But peace was fragile when teenagers were involved. 17-year-old Darren Holt sat near the back, drumming his fingers on the transparent desk. He was the son of a corporate executive, a boy who had been given every privilege, but carried none of the patience his father demanded. He hated the idea of sharing space with aliens, especially ones from so-called Deathworlds, planets classified as too dangerous for colonization due to their extreme environments. And sitting 2 rows ahead of him was one of those creatures. Her name was Kayla, and she was from Clithos 9, a planet so violent that its skies were torn by permanent lightning storms, its oceans boiled with carnivorous algae, and its gravity was 1.8 times Earth's. The Union scientists had declared it a cradle of monsters. Yet out of those monsters, Kayla had been born, slender, humanoid in shape, but with dark violet skin that shimmered like oil and eyes that glowed faintly gold in dim light. She was quiet, always quiet. She turned in perfect assignments, spoke when called upon, and never reacted when students whispered about her behind her back. To some, that made her an enigma. To Darren, it made her a target. The teacher, a weary android instructor designated T7 Delta, floated at the front of the classroom, lecturing on gravitational field dynamics. Darren's eyes, however, stayed fixed on Kayla. He smirked, leaned over to his friend Rylan, and whispered, "Bet she doesn't even bleed like us. Bet she's just full of acid or something." Rylan chuckled nervously, glancing at Kayla's sharp, claw-tipped fingers resting on the desk. "Careful, man. Deathworlders aren't like us." "That's the point," Darren sneered. "They don't belong here." When the bell finally chimed, students began to file out. Darren saw his chance. He brushed past Kayla in the aisle and deliberately shouldered her hard. She barely moved under the impact. Annoyed, he swung his hand and slapped the side of her face. The sound cracked like thunder. For a moment, the classroom froze. Everyone turned. Darren's grin spread across his face until Kayla looked up at him. Her golden eyes narrowed and something shifted. 3 seconds later, Darren was screaming, blood pouring from his face as his nose and jaw shattered under a blow faster than anyone could track. He flew across the room, slammed into a desk, and crumpled. The last thing he saw before blacking out was Kayla calmly adjusting her bag strap, her claws retracting as though nothing had happened. Middle, the fallout. Darren woke in the medical wing 2 hours later, his face covered in dermal regeneration pads. The doctors whispered words like maxillofacial reconstruction and neural realignment. His jawbone had been shattered in 4 places, his cheekbone cracked, and one eye temporarily blinded from the impact. His father arrived within minutes. Nathan Holt wasn't just a corporate executive. He was a board member of the Union Resource Council. He had power, and he was furious. "They let a Deathworld savage into a classroom with my son," he roared at the dean. "This girl should never have been here. I'll have her expelled. No, I'll have her deported back to that hellhole she crawled out of." But the dean, an aging Zentari with crystalline skin, shook his head. "Mr. Holt, you know the rules. This academy was founded to bridge our species. Every student here passed psychological screenings and combat safety protocols. If your son initiated violence, then he bears responsibility. My son is lying in a hospital bed." Holt snapped. "And yet alive," the dean countered. "Do you understand what it means to strike a clitory girl? They restrain themselves constantly. If she had not, your son would be dead." That word, dead, hung heavy in the air. Meanwhile, rumors spread like wildfire through the academy. Some students whispered that Kayla had killed Darren, and the school was covering it up. Others claimed she was a biological weapon disguised as a girl. Every hallway buzzed with speculation. Kayla herself, however, remained the same. She walked to class, turned in her work, and ignored the stares. But inside, she wasn't as calm as she looked. That night, in the dormitory's isolation garden, she sat beneath a glowing tree imported from Arcturus. Her claws trembled as she folded them into her lap. She remembered her mother's words before she left Clithos. 9. They will fear you. They will provoke you. You must never give them reason to confirm their fear. But Darren had touched her. He had hit her. On Clithos 9, touch was no small matter. In the predator-rich jungles of her home, an unexpected strike was always lethal. Her instincts had acted before her mind could stop them. Now, she feared the consequences. Across the garden, a voice spoke. You're not sleeping either, huh? Kayla turned. It was Rylan, Darren's friend. He wasn't smirking or mocking. He looked nervous, shifting from foot to foot. Just want to say, he stammered. What Darren did was messed up. I told him not to. He doesn't listen to anyone. And, well, everyone's saying you're dangerous, but I saw his face before he hit you. He was laughing. Kayla tilted her head. Why tell me this? Because Rylan hesitated, then sighed. Because my dad works in bioengineering. He said your people aren't dangerous. You're adapted, stronger, faster, but not monsters. And I figured you should know at least one person doesn't think you're, a weapon. For the first time since arriving at the academy, Kayla's lips curved into a faint, almost imperceptible smile. But Darren's father was not smiling. Nathan Holt filed formal charges with the Union Council. His argument was simple. Allowing a Deathworlder among human children was reckless. Kayla had assaulted his son, nearly killed him, and proved she was too dangerous to coexist. The case escalated beyond the academy. Soon, galactic news outlets picked it up. The story became a debate. Should Deathworld species be integrated into peaceful society, or were they ticking time bombs? Kayla was summoned to a disciplinary hearing. She stood alone at the center of a chamber, surrounded by representatives from 6 different species. Darren, his face bandaged, sat beside his father with a bitter glare. Do you deny striking this boy? The council chair asked. Kayla lowered her eyes. I do not deny, but he struck first. On my world, to be struck is to be marked for death. My body reacted. Do you regret your actions? Silence stretched. Finally, Kayla said quietly, I regret that he touched me. Gasps rippled through the chamber. To many, it sounded like a threat. To others, it sounded like truth. Darren's father pounced. You see? She feels no remorse. She is a predator pretending to be a student. If my son had not been lucky, she would have killed him. Expel her. Deport her. Protect our children. But before the council could vote, something unexpected happened. The Academy's AI instructor, T7 Delta, glided forward. With permission, I must present supplemental data. The chair frowned. Proceed. A hologram flickered to life. It showed Darren striking Kayla first, the slap echoing across the room. It showed her response. A blur of movement, yes, but controlled. The AI slowed the footage. Instead of claws slashing, Kayla's hand had struck with the back of her knuckles, pulling her blow just enough to incapacitate without killing. In 99.4% of Deathworld defense responses, T7 Delta explained, lethality is immediate. Student Kayla demonstrated extraordinary restraint. Had she intended harm, Student Holt's cranial integrity would not exist. The room fell silent. Even Nathan Holt's face paled. The council chair leaned forward. So you're saying she saved his life by not following her instincts? Correct, the AI replied. She chose mercy in the space of 3 seconds, ending the turning point. The vote was unanimous. Kayla would not be expelled. Instead, Darren was suspended for initiating violence, and a directive was issued. All students would undergo cross-species cultural training to prevent further incidents. Darren's father stormed out of the chamber, vowing to take the fight to higher courts. But in that moment, Kayla was safe. As she left, Rylan caught up to her. You didn't have to hold back like that, he muttered. Part of me thinks Darren deserved worse. Kayla shook her head. If I give them what they expect, then I will never be more than a monster to them. Weeks passed. Darren returned, his reconstructed face stiff with bitterness. But something had shifted. People looked at him differently now. Not as the victim, but as the boy who provoked a girl from a death world and paid the price. Whispers followed him instead of her. Kayla, meanwhile, began to open up. She spoke more in class, even joined a science project team. To everyone's shock, she laughed once, a soft, Musical sound that didn't belong to a predator, but to a girl learning what it meant to be accepted. Still, she never forgot the garden, the night she confessed her regret. And she never forgot how quickly mercy had to be chosen. Because on Clithos 9, 3 seconds decided whether you lived or died. And on Earth, in a classroom far from home, 3 seconds had decided whether she would remain a student or be cast out